Hey, what is up YouTube? It's Terrence and I'm back with another video. This should have been released a few weeks back, but I got caught up with a few things. But by the end of April, the kinks in my schedule should be ironed out and I should be dropping videos more consistent. Future me here, you might notice that the right side of the screen and the bottom are cut off. This because the canvas on OBS wasn't scaled properly, so a small area of the screen will be cut off during the tutorial, but it doesn't affect things too much. Now let's get on to the video. This video continues the Fusion series. This is episode 2. I'll be diving a bit more into nodes, the Fusion viewers, the keyframe, spline panel, inspector panel, and we'll be making a very basic animation at the end. To start things off, let's have a look at these nodes. You'll see that we have some triangles and some squares. The squares are usually outputs and the triangles are inputs. Different kinds of nodes have different inputs. The orange is usually background or input, the green is usually foreground, and the blue is usually mask. If you want to know what these do, you can mouse over any of these little icons and you'll see what they are. So here in transform 1, this is an effect mask, this is the input. For the merge, this is the background and this is the foreground. For the crop, it's input. For the surface tracker, this is overlay. For the planar tracker, it's corner pin 1. And for the regular tracker, it is foreground. So each node is a bit different. So nodes work like a network and you start from one and it flows into the other. Over here on the left, we have our 2 viewers. You can use this icon to turn it to 1 viewer or 2. We just put the text on the viewer and type something out. Text, very profound. This is going to increase the size here in the inspector. This is your properties panel. This is where you change parameters and do keyframing. So here you can see that there are 2 little dots below the node, and this indicates where the node is being displayed. Right now it's on viewer 1 and viewer 2. I can hit 1 or 2 on the keyboard to switch between the different viewers, or you can drag it to the viewer that you want to view it on. Let's disable viewer 1 and have a look at viewer 2. Now on each viewer, you'll have a few different icons that are different tools. On the low toolbar, you'll have different tools depending on the node that you have clicked. The transform doesn't have any, merge doesn't have any. The crop has a tool and the text has a few tools. Like for example, I can click this and it gives me a cursor that I can move around and I can type text over here instead of typing text out in the inspector, right? So just change that back to text. I'm gonna turn this off. Here you have a few other options. I can look at the alpha channel. I can look at the color. And I can also use like Z for depth, C for color, A for alpha. Different shortcuts over here. This is for viewing LUTs. I have never messed with these, to be honest. I think this is the new feature in Resolve 20. This is the new update. I'm on the beta, as you can see. So I haven't played with this. Over here you have a few menus with different controls. And over on this side, you can use an A-B buffer. So this is like kind of like switching different viewers or doing a split. And this is for turning on a few different things. Like you can use this to check colors in your viewer. You can turn on a magnifier. You can turn on a histogram, for example. And this is simply for zooming. Like I was saying, when it comes to nodes, it's all about how things flow. Let's take this polygon node, for example, and I'm going to plug it in the text. And the polygon, if we should view it in viewer 2, there's nothing. So if you view the text, you don't see anything. But we can use this to draw out a polygon. And there we go. Now we've masked the part of the text. That's all we have, just a bit of the X, a bit of the T. And if I should bring this to a blur, I plug it into the blur, I turn the blur up, you won't be seeing anything. And that's because we are viewing the text node. If I should drag the blur to viewer 2, or I can hit 2 on the keyboard, we can now see the blur. I can plug it into a transform. And again, if we move it around, we're not going to see anything until we view the transform. This might sound a bit daunting if you're coming from something layer-based like After Effects, but trust me, it's not that bad. I could add a merge node right here. Switch that. I can view the merge node, and then I can add as many nodes as I want. And I'll just be viewing the merge and I can make all the changes up here, right? So I don't need to worry about clicking different nodes. And as you make more complex node trees, you'll see why this kind of workflow is pretty awesome. You'll see people building things out in different ways. Me personally, I like to work vertically from top to bottom. You'll see some Fusion users building from left to right. For example, we build something out right here. Let's grab this background. We're going to click the color and let's make it a light blue. Something like this. Let's merge the text over the background. We can do this simply by dragging the output from one node and placing it on the output of another node. This creates a merge, and this is going to merge whatever you dragged first on top. So if we go to merge to, click 2, we can see we have our blurred text above the blue background. You can also hit Control T to switch between the two. Only now the blue background is above the text, but we can't see the text because it's above it. If we should maybe do a quick mask like this, you can see the blue above the text, but let's delete that and let's switch this back around. Now, as I was saying, things can be laid out in any way that you choose to. You might see some people do something like this, where let me remove the pipe router, and they'll have their text, the mask, the blur, the transform, something like this. And then they continue building their node tree from left to right, and it goes all the way across to the right. Personally, that doesn't work well for my brain. I prefer building vertically, right? And I like to use pipe routers as well. It's these little things. I hold the Alt key. I can click on a line and just create a router. I can drag it around to help me organize things. You can also hit the period key on your keyboard if you have the Nuke Diffusion shortcut installed, and it's just gonna create routers. Maybe it works without Nuke Diffusion, but I'm not sure. Let's build something. I'm gonna delete these, delete the polygon so I can see the entire text. What I'm gonna do first is add a red ball to the screen. So let's get another background node, and this is red. Let's make this red like this. I'm gonna mask it with an ellipse, and just gonna scale it down like that. And then I'm gonna merge this behind the text. There are a few different ways I can go about this. If I drag this to the text right here, it creates a merge node. You can see now it's on top of the text, so I can hit Control T, switch that around, and we've got it behind the text. I can also, let's select all the nodes, hold the merge and hit Shift so I can disconnect it. And I'm gonna like this. Kind of messy, but it gives me the same effect, only now the red circle is merged above the blue background, and then the text is merged above everything else. So there are different ways that you can go about it, but for now I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to create a quick text animation. We're going to have the text scale up, and then we're going to have the ball just fall down and bounce, a little bounce animation. So let's hit T. If you have Nuke Diffusion again, you're going to get these cool shortcuts. And I'm going to go to frame 15. It's a 30-second timeline. And over here under the properties on the inspector, I'm going to hit the diamond next to size. I'm going to go back to 0. And I'm going to bring the size down to 0. Now, if we have a look at our splines right here, we can see that the keyframes have been created. But this can get a little bit messy. You can see all the nodes here that have some sort of keyframing on it. And over here, just the same, you can see a whole bunch of different nodes. This gets a bit confusing. So what I like to do is come in here and select Show Only Selected Tool. You can do the same here, Show Only Selected Tool, or you can also turn on Animation and it only shows the nodes that have keyframes. So I'll turn animation off for now and turn on Show Only Selected. So if I select 2 or 3 or 4 things, I can see those. If I only have 1 selected, I'll only see 1. So this is a linear animation that got created, and you can do a few different things in here, like Control F, for example. It frames a spline so it takes up the entire area. This icon does the exact same thing. At the bottom here, you have a few different tools that you can use. Like this is for linear. This creates a S-curve, smooths out the animation. If I should go to linear and hit play, you can see scales from 0 to 1 in a linear fashion, just a straight line. If I smooth it, from top to bottom, it's the value, and left to right is the time. So it's going to hold the value for a little bit, then scales in a linear fashion, and then slows down at the end. Kind of like how things would move in real life. Like if there was some friction, you know, starts off, builds momentum, slows down, comes to a stop. Likewise, I can use these handles to exaggerate the animation. So for example, I could do this, where it starts off quickly and then comes to a slow stop. So there we go. Pops up and then comes to a slow stop. Or I can do the opposite like this, and I can have it be very slow at the start, and then it just pops up at the end like that. So slow, and then it just pops up, right? But it looks better the other way around, where it's fast at the start, slow at the end, because that's a bit more natural. So let's make it linear again. You have a few other things here, like step in and step out. These are like just like jumping keyframes. It's like 0 jumps to 1, or it plays out at 0 for a while, then boom, jumps to 1. There is, they can use this to switch these around. So it now goes from 1 to 0 instead of 0 to 1. Let's switch that back. This is for looping, where it loops the animation. This is for ping pong, where it goes up and down and up and down. You can always do a little mouse over and you'll see tooltips, and you should get shortcuts as well. I'm not sure why the shortcuts aren't showing, but oh, if you right click, you can see the shortcuts here. There's also this set relative. This is really cool. You can turn this on and it will continuously like do the last animation. So if I want to have this like scale continuously, I can do that. If I want to have it scale faster, I can increase it, and there you go, scaling constantly. I can have it move really slow, but it's the constant scale. Let's select this, turn it off. You can also use this cool little animation box right here to like make changes to your keyframe. You can move them around, you can select them both, you can scale them, etc. Like you'll find the uses for this once you get more into like some advanced animations. Let's turn this off. And over here on the keyframes panel, you can click and slide keyframes around. You can select one keyframe, you can move it around, and you can also select a bunch of them. Use this box right here to drag the keyframes around and scale your animation. You can also hold the control key. You can select a keyframe and you can duplicate it by holding control. Let's place this back at 0, and let's place this back at frame 15. And now we're going from 0 to 1. This is not exactly 1, so what I'm going to do is click this little dot right here. This resets the value. You can also double click to reset, but that will remove all the keyframes. So if I have the aspect ratio here, the aspect set not to the default, I can double click this and it resets it. I can click this, but one preserves the keyframes, while double clicking the name removes the keyframes as well. Let's do our little animation. I'm going to remove that extra keyframe, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit S, and a quick easing tool that you have here, by hitting T on the keyboard, you get this thing right here. You can select both of these. You can ease in with a certain value, ease out with a certain value, or you can lock it and you can ease them both at the same time. You can create some really exaggerated animations where it's slow at first, pops up, and then comes to a slow stop, something like that. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have it do something like this. I'm going to bring this up higher. So what this does is it allows it to overshoot the animation. So it's going to pop up, go past 1, and then come back down to 1. So it does like a little bounce. And we can see it in action right here. So we got our text animation done. Let's move on to the red circle. I'm going to add a transform node. Just place it here. Let's bring that up, make a little more space. And we're going to have the ball maybe like about 18, 19 frames in. Gonna place a keyframe on the center. That's the transform value. And then at 0, I'm going to move it up off screen. Now we have it fall down. It's linear. We can select and smooth it, and it falls a little bit better, right? But you might notice that this has a little lock on it versus this that has a little point so you can move around. You might find it weird because you can move these left and right for the time, but you can't move it up and down to change the value. And why? That is because you're not seeing all the information that's behind these keyframes. The scale parameter here, it is one value, right? But The transform is X and Y, has two values, and here we're only seeing one. So here's something weird. If you were to drag this to say frame 30 and I move this back up, it moves up in value. If I should come to frame 45 and I move it down, it still moves up in value, right? And I mean, this is fine if you're doing some things, but if you want to do the kind of animation that I'm going to be creating here with the bouncing, you might want to separate these, because you're just going to have this thing that keeps going up when the value is actually moving up and down. So the way you do that is right clicking, and here where it says path 1, it may be a different path for you depending on the node. You want to open that, and here it says convert to XY path, hit that, and no offset, hit OK. And now we can see the actual values. You can see it goes down to like 0.3, then back up to, what's this, like a 0.4, then down all the way down to a -8, and then back up and down and back up. And we're only animating the Y value here. So you can see the X value, it remains the same. If I were to drag these around, you can see it's starting to move on the X and the X and the Y axis. And we have these different animations going on. So we just separated the X and the Y values instead of seeing like this one interpretation that holds all the information. But since we're going to be animating only on the X, I'm going to select only the Y, that is. I'm going to select all the X keyframes and delete them. And I'm going to select most of these Y keyframes and delete these. So we're back with our base animation. I'm just going to turn off the X. You can clicking it once will set it to like a reference mode where you can see it, but you can't change it. And checking it off turns it off completely. You can't see it. So let's frame that, Control F. And I'm going to have the ball, let's hit S. I'm going to have the ball fall really fast like this, like that. And then to have it bounce, I could do it here, but I'm just going to be doing it in the Splines editor. So I'm going to drag this up so I can see the height a bit better, right? What I'm going to do is bring this up like half the height, then I'll bring this back down, then back up again, about half the height, then back down, half the height, like here, and then back down. To ensure all of these are on the same level, I'm going to select them all and set the value to 0.5, and they're all on the same level. So now we have our bounce animation. The first part is fine, but the rest is linear. That's why it looks that weird, but we're gonna fix that. Let's select these, hit S, can hit, and now we got a smooth animation, but it still looks a little bit weird, right? And that's because these values are smooth. We need them to have like a spring thing going on. So let's work on that. We're gonna, if you try to move this around, it's gonna move both the handles, but if you hold the control key, you can move one handle at a time. So let's move the one handle. Let's come here. We're gonna flatten this, select it, rotate. It's moving freely from the jump. Okay, here we go. Something like, let's flatten it. Something like that. That looks fine. Here, just holding the control key while I adjust these. I'm gonna increase it to kind of hold the bounce a bit longer, like that. Here again, control key, and control key. And this one, I'm gonna like spread this out so it holds this value for a while on the last bounce. So like this. This is like a visual representation of how things are gonna play out. And now if we watch our animation back, that looks perfectly fine. But now let's have it bounce one more time. I think I'd like to see it bounce once more. Let's set this to 0.5, and then let's smooth this and do our bounce animation like that. Now we watch it again, And here, I think it bounces a bit too long. So before, I'm going to select these, and here's where the box comes in handy. I can select this box right here. I can just, wait, let's not select that one. Let's select these. You can use the box to shrink them down. It does weird things from time to time, so beware with your handles. It might do some weird stuff like this, but that's an easy fix. There we go. And another way you can do it is over here as well. You can select what you want to retime and use the boxes over here to retime these. I'm going to cut the video here because the video is getting a bit long, but the good news is the next part is already out. You can proceed to watch it.